Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands and artists like Lowda and The Humble. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Mr. Jordan, lead singer of Lowda and The Humble. And coincidentally, we're doing a Zoom interview, yet we're an hour and a half away.
Yeah, right. We could have just met in the middle.
We sure could have, man. Intercourse, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, welcome to
exactly.
the show, my friend. You have
Thank
had
you.
quite a past 7 days, pretty much, because like the 248 shows, they were last Monday and Tuesday, correct?
Yeah, or Wednesday, Thursday,
Or
and then we
Wednesday,
played,
okay.
yeah, then the WXPN for noon on Friday, and then two shows. So my voice is a little hoarse. I'm glad we don't have a show tonight. Probably mostly from just talking over the music on Wednesday and Thursday night. That's worse than singing, but it was a blast. It was a really good week.
So, how did the 48 shows come about? Was that your guys' idea? Did they reach out to you?
Yeah, so I did the same thing when I put out my solo record back in August. I just thought it was a cool way of sort of, selling a couple vinyl copies right off the bat and getting people excited for it, getting fans a first listen, to listen to the record 10 days before it's even out to the public and to have it in their hands. So it was cool. We got to meet people and sign stuff. We played, four or five songs at the end of the night, stripped down. But I said a little spiel at the beginning of each one of them, and I just pretty much was like, this is about just sort of celebrating this. We put a lot of months into this record. We're ready to have it out. So thank you guys for being a part of that. It was fun, super intimate. 32 tickets at each show, so we did three of them, sold out three of them, and it was fun. It's really fun.
So, did you mix up the set list then for each show, or do you stick to the same for all three?
For setup purposes and what instruments we brought, I mean, we're literally like in a little corner, and we were trying to do the new ones, and some of them work out stripped down a little bit better than others. So we just did the same four songs each night. But it was cool.
So, the anticipation for this album, how is it different than the previous four? For
It's
you
interesting
personally?
because,
Yeah.
sure. Oh, for me personally, I think I feel something different with this one in that we did it all on the road. It was recorded at I think four or five different studios across the country. We wrote it on the road. We kind of sort of arranged all the songs on the road and got them feeling tight before we went into the studio. We rented a bunch of cabins and would just set up our gear for 4 or 5 days at a time. So it was very much. I don't think we've ever just lived a record like that. We oftentimes would do it just out of not necessity, but probably ease here in Philly when we were off the road. So it was like, maybe I'll cut vocals for those two songs that night, and next week we're doing this night. But to be in there for chunks of time and just really only be thinking about the record, I think it helped with the vision. I think it helped with it being really cohesive. So, we've been very fortunate in that this is our fifth album, and the excitement and the growth of both our listenership and our ticket sales has only gone up steadily.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky for that, and I know all the guys do. So, with each album, it's always felt like the most hyped up one yet because it is. You can just see that more people are catching on and learning about us. So, it's really fun to put out what I think is our best work yet to an even bigger pool of folks who are just getting on board.
So if I would have told 2013 Jordan that you guys would have released five albums in 12 years, I mean that's pretty good like production. Like
Yeah,
what would you have said to me?
I think his little brain would be blown in a lot of ways. Just I often think about how absolutely ecstatic we were selling 50 to 75 tickets in a market that wasn't our hometown. It was very much like, who are these people? How do they know about us? And this is, it's an incredible feeling. And now we're, 10xing that in a lot of places and more. And it's, everything's always, your expectations grow, and that's natural. But it really is pretty incredible to see, just where it's taken us, how many venues we've played, and how many people are coming out to the shows now, and like you said, how many records we put out.
So, with that being said, having now a fifth record, you have a nationwide tour coming up. Were there more voices this time, kind of as part of the process than compared to previous, or did you guys try and keep it as compact as possible, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, that's a good question. Creatively, it's always just been us. There have been no other voices, at least outside voices, uh, as far as the writing or the production or anything like that goes. We've had talented engineers come on here and there. This one especially, we didn't. None of the band members engineered any of this record, which really allowed us to just be musicians and focus on that, which was, I think, also sets this record apart from the others. Yeah, as far as the voices, I got to mention that Kirby Seibert, the fourth member of the band who joined, I guess 6 years ago. This is the first studio album that he's on.
Sure.
Prior to that, he was a live member. So that's the voice that we welcomed in. So it's been really fun to just fully realize these songs as a quartet, rather than always having to imagine that part. When we would write as a trio, it's like, oh, and this will be cool if he does this. It's nice to have him doing that right in the
Yeah.
room with you, and you really can feel if that part is right or not, and if that song works or not. And I think that definitely lent itself to the organic nature of the writing. And when we got in the studio, it was really just about executing our parts, because we had all the experimentation had taken place in the writing process. So it really was about getting in there, executing, and just really making sure we capture the essence of that tune.
So I have two questions for you. So how many songs did you go into this for this album? And then with him being on board, what was, I guess, like the biggest dynamic change, because it's really like you're adding someone to the family, right? Like
Yeah,
how did that change things?
yeah. I'll start with that one. It was seamless because he's been a part of this family for so long. Before he was in the band, he was coming out on the road with us, shooting video and photo. When we called him to join the band, he thought we were calling about doing a video shoot, and we were like, "Hey, do you want to be in the band?" So he already, I think he learned the first batch of songs in about a week because he had been hearing them every night. So he slipped in seamlessly. He's an incredible writer and producer and multi instrumentalist in his own right. So that was easy. What was the previous question?
Yeah, and then how many songs did you
Oh,
go
okay, yeah,
into with the, for this album? Because, some bands, they will
sure,
go into the exact, they'll bring the exact amount of songs that they want to, put out for the album, and others will, come in with 35 songs and
sure.
whittle down to 10.
Totally, totally. I've always envied those bands, so that kind
Yeah.
of answers your question. I think so. Not a whole lot. By the time we did have our 11, we still had a couple other ideas kicking around, but I felt like we had an album. And I think when you don't have it right there in front of you, a track list, and you have all these ideas that are floating around, you're not quite sure where you're at in the process, and it's easy to say, what happened to those other ideas? So the last time we were in the studio, we were there to record one more song, and I said to the guys, because they didn't know how many more tunes we were going to do, I said, why don't we listen to what we have? I said, I sequenced it out here. Let's just sit down. We all listened to it, and the 11 songs finished, and we were like, we have a record. So it was sort of organic in that way. But some of these songs we started kicking around 5 years ago. Others came out of thin air in those cabin sessions that we did. I think at the end of the day, we quickly realize what has legs and what doesn't for that moment. We're never going to put it to bed forever. It's fun to go back and say, oh, okay. And then you're your future version of yourself looking back on your previous work, and how can you now make it better and tailor it to what the direction you're going now. So I think in that regard, yeah, we had a bunch of half songs that were getting, and then they get backburnered and gently kind of pushed to the back. And I think we're very good at trusting ourselves in which ones are going to rise to the surface and which ones need to be left behind, maybe for the next record or maybe to never be put on one. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how we work.
So of the songs off your debut album, Curse the Weather, which one of them that you play live now has changed the much like, or how have you
Yeah.
guys played it differently the most?
I mean, Curse the Weather, the whole back end is a complete. We literally rewrote the whole back end for the live show. I mean, I still have love for that song. I love how hyped the crowd gets when we kick into it. It's still such a moment in our set every night to the point where we've started kind of scooching it towards the front because it's like, that is what fires everybody into that next gear, which I still love about it. But, we had played that song hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I mean, I can maybe count, we might be nearing 1,000 within the next couple of years. So to keep that fresh is important for us. Otherwise, I don't want to see anybody going through the motions, and I know they've played it a million times. So the way to do that is to kind of put these little intricacies in, and in our case, a whole different jam at the end. But yeah, it was really fun to kind of rewrite a song, like I said, as your 8-year, 9-year, more mature self, and that luckily that outro really hits with fans. So I'm sorry if they were in love with that previous guitar solo, but it's a little different now. Just keeping it fresh.
And, bring it back every once in a while. That's what makes it
Yeah,
special,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, how important for you guys as a band is curating a set list? And obviously, with now 11 new songs to add to that, how does that make it that much more important?
Yeah, I think within the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, we've really, really um, tried to make it the most ergonomic and flowing set it possibly can be. And we do a ton of instrument switching at this point. I play bass on 2 tracks live. Kirby plays bass on 3 or 4. Jeff has, his bass on the rest of them. So Jeff's also playing baritone guitar. I'm playing a little baritone now. So with that, you need to, there's only certain songs that can go back to back. It's not, I wish we could run and gun like My Morning Jacket does every night and any song's fair game and it doesn't matter what record or what version. That's why they're the best. But we kind of have found these little chapters, we'll call it, where I know that song's going to hit after that next one. And I know I'm capoed on one for these next three. So those go together. It's very much about that and trying to keep the energy like this without losing them or without coming here and having nowhere else to go. So yeah, set list is a big thing for us and we really try to hone it in.
Yeah, I'm glad you said something about My Morning Jack because we talked about them earlier before we started recording. One of my favorite bands live, the show that we saw at the last time they played at the Met
Oh,
was just like mind blowing. I mean, just
yeah,
so good. And I know they're coming back there for 2 nights. I think in October again, right?
they're incredible. I've
Cool.
had, yeah, I mean, I don't throw it around, but I've had what feel like religious experiences at their shows. And yeah, they've been my favorite band for a long time. And it's just the thing that they've created as a whole is why, not every record they put out is my favorite new music to be put out, but they still, like I said, on any given night, will pull out any song and just give you this unbelievably authentic and unique experience every single time. And they've been doing it for 25 years. So I look up to that in so many ways. And we've always, and they're one of those bands never had a hit, but they sell 10,000 tickets a bunch of places they go and they've just steadily grown, and it has created this real fan base that genuinely loves what they're doing. I think there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I mean, if you say to your grandma about My Morning Jacket, she's going to be like, "It's summertime. What do I need a jacket for?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, half the room sometimes at a hip bar. You could ask half the room and they might not know them. It's really wild. But I always recommend going to see them for anybody, any lover of any sort of live music. Go
Yeah.
see that band.
Yeah. Victory Dance will get you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so my first time ever seeing them, 2011 Bonnaroo, they opened with Victory Dance. Just I get chills talking about it.
Yeah. S-
Unbelievable.
Speaking of Bonnaroo, we had some friends that were down there.
Oh,
Just a disappointment, man.
so brutal. Something of that scale too. You feel for everybody, you know. It's I know people spend thousands of dollars to get there, but like these festivals are have people slaving over them, and that's their big thing for the year too. You know, it's nobody wants to see that. It's really a bummer. And the bands and the groups that probably your first Bonnaroo that you're ever playing and it gets rained out. You know, it stings all around. It's tough to see.
Yeah,
What can you do?
that's the problem. You know, you have a festival in Tennessee in June. I mean, it's
If
yeah.
it's not a tornado, it's a rainstorm. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So speaking of weather, man, XPN, that poor festival, they had to move it to September because
I
it
know.
rained there every year. Talk
Yeah,
about your guys' relationship with XPN and talk about that show on Friday.
yeah. Free and noon. That's our second one we've done. It's a special thing. I mean, middle of the day, you get there at 9:30 a.m. to sound check. You know, it's yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous for both of them. You know, it's still one of those things that gets your butterflies going. But yeah, XPN's been such a huge part of Philly's music scene for years and years, undeniably so. So it's cool to get a nod from them. It's cool to get love from them, and on the larger scale too, with getting a free at noon. It's always exciting, especially right around the record. We're very thankful.
Yeah. Well, and for our audience that does not know, so XPN is a public radio station. They are funded by the University of Pennsylvania and their listeners. It's pretty incredible. And the venue, I mean, talk about the venue. Like that downstairs venue is fantastic.
Yeah, oh yeah, World Cafe is great. It's the perfect size. It's wide. I think they call it 900 cap, and it's the most comfy 900 ever, and it's got that next level up. I just love a show that feels like the people are right in my grill, but it's still a large place. Still feels like a proper concert venue. I think Ardmore Music Hall does that really well. Great size, but still feels, with the high ceilings and everything, like a real concert venue. Yeah, just it's a fun place to play. People are right there with you too at noon, to be playing rock and roll. To some people who may not have had their coffee or lunch yet, it's cool that they're there.
Yeah. So did you guys pull out a cover? Did you do anything special for that set, or was it mostly just new off the new album?
Yeah, we just wanted to play these new tunes. We've
Yeah.
been chomping at the bit, and we actually went up to upstate New York last month and shot and played the entire new album live. That we'll be releasing at some point. So these songs, we've been really really rehearsing these songs, and I think that was the best way we could have done that because you get in the studio to do it live and you're in headphones and everything. You're under the microscope. You can hear how you're playing those tunes. You don't have all the reflections, to lean into. So I think practicing the songs for the first time in that setting is going to really help us, with playing them live. So yeah, all new stuff. We were ready, guns blazing.
So from a songwriting perspective, are you more of a lyrics first and then music, or are you music first and then lyrics, or does it kind of depend on the song?
99.9% of the time, it's music first.
Okay.
I will mumble over an entire song structure for a month before I go back in, and I always feel there's a reason. Not that they're sort of not important or not as important as the music. I think they are the icing on the cake. A good line is going to pull you in just as quickly as a great intro lick or something like that. But there's a reason instrumental music can bring you to tears. It's about the tonality of it and the chord choices, and if I like that being the hook, and then the lyrics on top of that being something a little bit extra.
Yeah.
And I think over the years I've really, really tried to take my time and get better as a lyricist, and really every single line kind of put under the microscope, so to speak, and just make sure and I'm getting that message across
Mhm.
as succinctly as possible.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of the band. I want to know about the band's name, the origin of the band's name, and then I want to know too, like, what got you to decide to want to do this in the first place? Like to not have a professional career, to not, like do kind of the 9 to 5 thing that everybody else does. Talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, so this band we actually started in high school. We were 18, Shane and I, the drummer, and a guy named Nate Matulis who used to play bass for us. Started it in, I guess, 2010, technically. And that should explain the name. We were young and goofy, and we wanted a sort of a blank in the blanks, where there is no Mo Lowda, there is no The Humble, just sort of a collective. I always like those old, sort of Motown blank
Sure.
in the blanks format names. Yeah, I think we could have spelled it differently. I think there's some things I would change, but I still stand by coming up with a band name is the hardest thing in the world. It's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's us now, and it's at least Googleable. So we got some search engine points there. Yeah, I think shortly after, I think it's when we all went to Temple that I started realizing, you know, uh, I had played guitar since I was 13, and I learned two chords, and I started writing as soon as I could. That's what I wanted to do, was write, and I still learned a ton of covers and did the 13-year-old boy playing guitar thing, and learned all that, try to learn Hendrix and Zeppelin and all that stuff. But it really was about creating for me. So I think once we got to Temple, and we would play little open mics, on Temple's campus at Maxie's, or we'd play basement shows or small clubs, and people cared, and people were showing up, and people were learning the words just from having seen us at a couple of different basement shows. And I think I knew that feeling was something I wanted for a really long time. So
Yeah.
the rest, is history, so to speak. But yeah, we knew after we graduated, no 9 to 5s,
Yeah.
because we had to try and make this work.
Yeah. Well, we talked about before we started recording, like your band name is kind of like a South by Southwest like band name. Have you guys done South by Southwest before?
Yeah, we did it 3 years ago, I think.
Okay. And what was your
Yeah.
experience like? What did you think of Austin?
Oh, I love Austin. Austin, Shane and I just spent 2 months in Austin. Well, while we were off the road this year, I went down and made a record with some friends, and Austin's probably my favorite town in the U.S. It's just so much fun. Great venues, great food, cool people. Yeah, Austin's great. South by, it felt sort of like, I guess they're trimming down the music this next year. It felt like that was already kind of almost happening naturally while we were there, if I'm being honest. It's one of those things you build up in your mind, and it has so much history. I think it might not be what it was at one point. Still had fun, still played some great shows, and Austin again has no shortage of uh, great venues, so it was a blast.
Yeah. We this was our 8th year going down for South by. We cover it every year. We saw 45 bands this year in 5 days.
That's insane.
We saw 35 the year before. So I was just hoping to get to 35. And like when we were
Yeah,
at day 5 and I'm like, holy shit, we did 45 this year. Like, yeah, like
that's
yeah,
incredible. That's a lot of music.
it's a lot
Wow,
of music. Yeah.
that is a lot of music. God bless you.
And really, the only one that I regretted is we Fridays, because we got there Tuesday and left Saturday. And usually we do like either Tuesday to Sunday, Tuesday to Saturday, because pretty much everything wraps up usually Saturday night.
Yeah,
But my friends, Zach Edwards and the Medicine, they are a band from Lafayette,
Louisville.
Louisiana.
Oh, okay, okay,
And so this was their first time playing South by, and so they had, which is really cool, the venue. They gave them an 8 p.m. to an 11 p.m. showcase, 3 hour
awesome.
set, right? So we got invited by this record label called Keystone Artists Connect. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I don't know
They're
if I.
based out of Pittsburgh, but they have offices now in Austin and in Nashville. And
Okay,
they, are just a record label for a bunch of artists, right? So, anyways, they invited us to their like party on Friday. Well, it was open bar, and like they had a couple purveyors there that had a certain, kind of sugary thing that kind of, has something in it.
sure.
And so between that and a lot of alcohol, like
Yeah,
by 9:30 on Friday night, like I had to like I was done.
I'm
But
out of here.
so I
Yeah.
only saw like an hour and a half of their set, and I
All right.
probably only remembered probably about the first half hour of it.
90 minutes is fair though. That's it. That
Yeah.
in itself is a full set. So
Yeah, man. But
yeah,
yeah, like that's South by. I mean, it's just I there's something about it that, and it does. It sucks that Time Warner has kind of taken it over and like,
yeah.
like you said, there is definitely a reduction in music and it's more like about the tech and like
The
all the
tech and everything. Yeah.
movies and all that stuff. It's like, but
Hmm.
you can't take
Yeah.
away the spirit of it.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's the perfect time for something like that too.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I like have you ever kind of wondered, you personally or even as a band, like why Philly hasn't really done anything like that citywide? Because like my God, with all the venues that we have, like
Sure. Yeah, you have Philly Music Fest, but it's definitely on a smaller scale.
right.
And then you'll have some one day things. You have exponential. Yeah, it's a good question. And also with Philly being such an unbelievably, I think easy city to get around.
Sure.
Nothing's that far. When we tour, it's funny when you check where the venue is and then you see where the downtown is, and it's like that's the same city. That's it's a 30-minute drive or whatever.
Yeah.
Philly's very much within the same area and very easy to navigate. So I've always loved that about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be perfect for something like that. There's
Yeah.
a
So
lot of great venues.
do you feel like being from Philly and growing up in Philly, like that you've kind of always had to defend the city as a citizen of Philly? Because the national, like the national kind of spotlight is that, we're a bunch of, throwing batteries at Santa and all that crap. Like,
Right, right.
do you kind of feel like a pride of being a Philadelphian when you're on tour and like when you're meeting people, or is that not really kind of
Yeah.
part of the lexicon?
No, it is. People like to make their remarks. I have this weird dynamic, so maybe I'm the best person to defend Philly because I grew up an all New York fan. My dad was from just outside New York, so I was Giants, Yankees. Very easy for my friends to get in my ear about anything sports wise. So I've only just started coming around on the Sixers. I'll root for the Sixers. I'm okay with that. Nobody else. But so for me to defend Philly as a whole, I think is like, yeah, it's a great city. It's got grit. I wouldn't have it any other way. It definitely has that reputation, but other cities have their own for other reasons. People do love to dog on it, but I think there's when one visit to Philly, if you're in the right spot, and you're going to see all the things it has to offer.
Yeah. And honestly, man, like next year for the city, it's going to be huge. The 250th anniversary of the of our country, like
Hmm.
the World Cup's going to be there. Like,
Yeah, I can't
yeah,
wait
like
for that. I'm excited for that.
yeah, I mean, the
I'm
world
ready
is
to see
going to
it.
be
Yeah,
watching. Like, it's going to be
yeah,
a good chance for the city to shine. So hopefully, it does its best to do that, right?
definitely, 100%.
So let's talk about. We've got a festival this weekend, my friend, the Green River Music Festival up in Western Massachusetts. We, as a podcast, are getting to cover it. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday, and then we have to head back like midday Sunday. But you guys are playing Friday, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
Friday. Yep, yep.
I
Should
know
be
you've
cool.
not been there before, but what do you know? What are you excited about? Like,
I have not been there before, but I know that I think just about every Massachusetts show, no matter where in Massachusetts, for the last 5 years has been a barn burner. They love good music. We do really well in Boston. We play two shows on Nantucket each year, um, and yeah, I think this one will be no different. There's some great music lovers in that state. Also, we're the slot right before Mount Joy now. I think we got bumped up, so there's going to be about 4 billion people there to see them. So hopefully, some of them get there early and see our set as well.
do you know those guys personally?
We
Like,
do.
okay,
Yeah, we've opened for them a couple times.
okay.
We opened for them at a couple venues that were like 200 cap in like 2018, and the rest is history. I think the next tour they were playing, 2 nights at Union Transfer or Fillmore or something. We opened at the Fillmore too, but yeah, they've absolutely blown up. It's pretty wild to watch.
Yeah. I he's just a cool dude. Like you can just tell, like he's one of those guys you'd like want to have a beer with, and like like just
Yeah,
like he's
they're
real.
sweethearts. They're sweethearts. Yeah, all
Yeah,
of them. Really
yeah.
cool.
And it's good, like those guys, the war on the drugs. Let's talk about like these Philly bands, man. Snack time, like we talked about before we started. Like,
Yeah,
talk about the Philly scene, man. Like this, I think the national, if you were from probably like the Midwest or the South or the West Coast, like you probably don't realize like what Philly has, like with what we have band wise, right?
yeah. And Dr. Dog, Hop
Right.
Along. The
Yeah.
districts will lump in there. I know
Yeah.
no diss to Lidditz, but
Yeah.
they ended up pretty heavy in the Fishtown scene.
Flory, right?
Um,
Flory.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's great music that's always come out of Philly, and I think it is part of that. That's why I moved to Fishtown after school was after going to Temple was that my buddies had moved there and they're going to see shows at Johnny Brenda's on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights and seeing all these great touring bands that we love come through. I'm like, shit, man, I got to get there. I was living in the suburbs, so it's the first thing I did, save up enough money to get right into the scene so I could walk to these shows, or we could be right around the corner when we played these shows. So yeah, I think it's always I think about it now. It's like I don't know if we grew up somewhere else, if we would have been so gung ho about the music scene, because there wouldn't have been a community to support it as much. Even just the small things like having little rock and roll bands play house parties in basements at Temple. I don't know if that happens at every school. It could be DJs or it could be, whatever. Somebody just with a phone that's attached to the, Bluetooth speaker. I think it's something that I sometimes forget about it being so much Philly created us, just by the sheer amount of people that cared early on and kept
Yeah.
us going.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dr. Dog is maybe a top five band for me, and we used to work out of Headroom, which was in Kensington, but the building got sold. It was in the Viking Mills building. Of course, now it's going to be condos. Like we need more of those. And it moved to I guess Darby, Pennsylvania, and
Huh?
it's actually now a shared space with the Dr. Dog studio. So I got to cut most of my or a good bit of my last solo album in the Dr. Dog studio, and I'm just like a kid in a museum, because they have all the actual props from the album art and the flags they would bring on stage. I was just nerding out and there's Toby's basses and everything. So I've never gotten to meet them directly, but they have been a massive inspiration for me. So it
Mhm.
was really cool to just work out of the same space as them. There was a magic in that room for sure.
So as an artist and as a lead singer who has done solo stuff in addition to, your band work, why do you think lead singers and artists don't do that more?
I think you have to have a lot of ideas and a lot
Okay.
of time, honestly. And I wouldn't say I'm overwhelmed, but I did like 20 solo dates this year, sort of around the Lowda touring because I knew we wouldn't be on the road early in the year. But to find the time and to not, oversaturate markets and to spread those things out, but also, if you're putting out 5 singles off a record, that's a 6 month release window now.
That's
So now you
right.
got to find the next 6 months to do that where your other band's not doing. I think it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work, but I love doing it, and I've found a way to make them both work. All those guys in Molado play on all the solo records too. If it ain't broke, kind of scenario. They're all incredible musicians, and they come out with me on the road too. Two of the three of them. So I've been very cautious as to not to just let them sort of cross pollinate rather than compete. And it's actually worked quite nicely. There are people that have found me just through the solo work, and there are plenty of people that found the solo work just through Malala. So
Yeah.
it's been a gift to be able to sort of scratch both those itches
Yeah.
and have somewhere to put just about any song I write at this point, whether it's one avenue or the other.
So do you think being in a band helps you more being a solo artist, or being a solo artist helps you more being in a band?
That's a great question. I think it's chops either way. Like I've changed as a writer since I started the solo work, and it's this weird combination of I'm more in tune and more personal and vulnerable with the lyrics on the solo work, and I'm also not nearly as particular about the sort of song structures in that I don't need them to be super weird. I don't need a left turn. I don't need that kind of surprising chord. Whereas that's a part of sort of a part of Mo Lauda's DNA is to find unique ways of packaging these sort of straightforward songs through tones or through chord voicings or through arrangement. Whereas the solo stuff, I'll have a 3 chord song and the truth, as they say, and just let it ride. Like I don't think too far into it, and that in itself, as an artist, is incredibly liberating. It's like it's okay to make a super simple song. I love what we do with Mo Lauda in that I want to impress those dudes. When I bring them a song, I want to see those eyebrows perk up. I want to see the ears perk up.
Mhm.
That's the part of that's why we've been able to play together for so long is that we're still excited about this shit. So
Yeah.
it's cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
they
half the
both
battle,
both
man,
sort of
right?
work. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, 15 years being a band. Yeah.
So I want to know for you personally, and if you know your bandmates well enough, you can answer for them as well.
Okay.
Where is like for you, where and like how is the ideal way for you to listen to music? Are you driving
Oh,
in your car? Are
yeah,
you live
yeah,
in your living room? Are you with headphones? Are you, tell me how that's for you.
sure. I think depending on what I'm listening to, the car, classic. Just there's something about a song hitting loudly, windows open. And my car stereo happens to sound really good, so it's like we test mixes in there. So I'm kind of addicted to the way that system sounds. But yeah, just headphones. There's nothing that beats headphones. Laying in your bed, eyes closed. I think you hear things you would never catch that way. Even on a great system in the car, you still have a little bit of outside ambience to really get the full picture. And the reason why we slave over mixes for 2 months is the headphone listening experience. We want you to catch that one thing that happens at 3 minutes and 15 seconds only in the left ear. It's. I think there's a beauty to that as well.
Yeah, whenever I review an album, I will at least listen to it once on headphones,
Yeah,
in addition to, anywhere, any other, form of media. But
sure, sure.
but you're right. It's you definitely there is something, especially like, a Radiohead album or like like even the Smile,
Oh, oh yeah.
I'm Morning Jacket stuff, like, it's almost a necessity to listen to that at least, once or twice with
Absolutely. Oh
headphones.
my God, especially that Radiohead stuff. There's ear candy all over that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Also, it's so personal when it's just you, and it's on headphones. It's like there's a sort of a piece to it, and just like yeah, like I said, just feels like you're being spoken directly to, whereas as soon as it's out in the air and reverberating around, it's a little less.
Yeah.
You could be listening to anything in the world at that moment. No one needs to know. It's just you.
Yeah. Yeah. You just need a CD player and space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about a song that has hit me and I've just connected with like since you put it out, man. And the new song off the album, 731, man. Like I want to hear the story behind that song.
Cool. Yeah. It all started with a guitar tuning. It's in drop C, and I just love those chord voicings. Kind of just that simple boom, 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 kind of thing. And I think that's one of those I mumbled over that for the longest time. I think we cut drums and guitars and bass, and I had all the melodies, but words here and there. When you're doing that kind of writing, there are certain lines that pop through. And then, sometimes I think, why did that come out of my mouth the first time I went to sing over this? Let's explore that line. What does that line mean to me? So it did end up kind of being this song. I think it's about very much celebrating small wins, as we chug along at whatever we're after. And I think people kind of forget to do that and sort of recognize and have love for the path that gets you there. there's a lot of steps along the way, and you'll miss them if you don't take a minute to really soak it all in.
Yeah. So at the end of, you guys play your set, it's the end of the night, you're saying hi to fans, kissing babies, doing all that. How hard is it for you guys to say no to like your fans being like, "Hey, let's party, let's," like
Yeah,
there's this disconnect between like, "Hey, this is our profession." Like, we have
sure.
an 8-hour drive to do the next morning, like
Yeah,
how hard is that trying to, that
yeah.
balance, I guess.
It gets easier to say no to the partying as the partying gets harder to do. Because we're not getting any younger. And if you asked us when we were 25 if we'd come out to the bar till 3 a.m. with you, then it was a yes every time. Now it's a yes 40% of the time. Well, we know our bodies now, and especially with my voice, it's like you can only do so many 2, 3 a.m. nights before you're not waking. It doesn't. Not all the cough drops and lemon tea in the world is gonna get that thing back. So we're smart about it now. We cherish our rest, and like you said, there is this element of we. These people are paying money to come see us, and they want the best show from you. They want the best version of yourself. They want that energy, so you better bring it. And I think that comes with drinking before getting on stage. We'll have one or two, but we want to be on point. I'd rather come off stage sober as a judge and feeling like I just played my absolute best than maybe having a little buzz and then biffing notes and feeling like I didn't really execute. There's always time to drink after, but I think we kind of really we lock in these days. So, but we love talking with fans. We love hanging with fans. If you come see a show, just find the nearest pool table after, and you'll probably catch us for at least one.
So who's the best shark then?
Oh man, Colin's a good player. Kirby has my number recently. I can shoot. We play a lot. We play a lot. Everybody's pretty evenly matched. Pool's one of those games on any given night someone could just come out of nowhere and win five in a row or get smoked. And I kind of love that about it. It's a great way to meet people too. The amount of folks we've met. I literally met my girlfriend playing pool. So perfect example right there.
Do you find though that there's still a lot of pool tables like at bars and stuff, or
We're
is it? 'Cause
losing them left and
I was
right.
gonna say, yeah,
We're
like
losing them. Well, COVID killed us
yeah,
because they're just about all of them in bars are rentals. So as soon as the 6 feet thing happened, I think that corner in Fishtown where Costa's used to have three, Garage had two. We lost five in like a month during COVID.
garage used that. That's
Yeah,
right, garage had
yeah.
them. Yeah, that's right.
Garage had them, and yeah. So now every time we see, we pour some out for all the pool tables we've lost here in Fishtown, but still enough good spots to play.
Does Buffalo Billiards in Old City, do they still
Still
have?
there.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. But they'll have leagues a lot. So if you get there on the wrong night, you're not playing any pool. But
Right.
like playing at Standard Tap. Johnny Brendan still has a table. That's probably where I play most. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Buffalo Billiards, man. There has been many nights that we've gone there for happy hour because their happy hour was banging back. I don't know if it still
yeah.
is.
It's still
Like
pretty good.
yeah, like half price apps, like $3 half price beer.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome.
I was surprised to see that because now at people's happy hour is like $12 cocktails. That's not a happy hour. That's $1 off, $2 off.
Dollar wings. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Damn inflation.
I know. I know.
So let's talk about again, like I told you before we started, one of my favorite bands and a band that I've known since 2013, and again, an Austin band, Bright Light Social Hour. You guys got to co-headline a tour with them last year. Talk about like your relationship with those guys and how much they meant to you.
Oh man, they're the best. Incredible, incredible live show. The sweetest humans on the planet. Weirdly enough, I had so when we got connected with them, it was through our agents, and they sent us the stuff, and we had heard the name and had heard some of the tunes, but like I think I dug in on one of their live sessions and immediately was like, yeah, we got to play with these guys. But I had recognized Curtis Roush from his solo material. He put out a solo record. I think it's
Fantastic.
the only one he put
Yep.
it. It's phenomenal.
Yep.
So I weirdly enough, when we first met them, I was like, dude, I got to tell you, I love your solo stuff. He was like, really? He was kind of surprised by it. And then, so when I was down there for 2 months in Austin, I played a solo show, but with a quartet, and Curtis sat in on guitar for the set. So to play with him was very full circle. He's such a great guitar player and just such a stand up dude. That whole crew really just, and I love how tight they are. They're all at each other's weddings, and they all, it's a family, and that's kind of how we operate. So it's really cool to see other bands that operate in the same way. You
Yeah.
know,
I want to hear, there's got to be a good tour story, between
oh
you two
man,
bands. Come on, got to get it to me.
oh I mean they ended up getting caught. I think we just pulled off and just got a hotel for the night. They drove at about 10 miles an hour on the freeway for like 5 or 6 hours in an ice storm. I think it was that stretch in Nebraska. Luckily, we had a couple days off, but they were a few hours ahead of us. I think we were moving a little slow that day, maybe after Denver or something, or before. Doesn't matter. And we get a call from them. They're like, "Where are you guys? Because you shouldn't go where we are." I would let this kind of dissipate. And sure enough, we pulled into a rest stop, and just about everybody at the rest stop was like, wherever you're going, you just shouldn't. Like the amount of cars that were just going off the road. So luckily they got there in one piece, and we met them the next day. But those are those things like mid tour, you just have absolutely no control over that, and it can happen so quick, and you're really just constantly at the mercy. You gotta roll with the punches. But yeah, we had plenty of late nights, probably too many, and it was great to see them down in Austin. We did like a family dinner when we were there last time. Yeah, I'm sure there's more stories to be had, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And then you guys were at their Johnny Brenda show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That show was, I mean, you're right. I mean, they were fire that night, like just
Yeah.
absolute fire. Yeah, there is something, it's cool too, like the dynamic between the two of them, because like you're right, like Curtis is very like reserved, like stoic almost, and
Yeah.
then
The
Jackie
professor.
is this like, just
Yeah.
all
Oh
of
yeah.
energy and like,
Jumping off amps. Yeah. We call Curtis the professor. He knows everything there is to know about everything somehow, and he's just such a. You speak to him, and you feel like he's teaching you the ways of the universe
Yeah.
all the time just by speaking. Yeah, they do have such a cool dynamic together, and
Yeah.
they're quite the pair. And actually, Jeff, who plays in Lowda, his project Air is Human opened up that night.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it was
he
a
was
really cool bill
fantastic,
all
man.
around. He's
Yeah.
an unbelievable musician. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's
master
your
of the
guitarist
soundscapes.
then.
He plays guitar and bass and baritone, and he plays a lot of keys on the records. So just about anything you put in front of him, he can play well. Yeah,
Yeah, that's impressive. That really
yeah.
is. So I want to talk about this tour that you got upcoming, man. Like what are some cities that are on this tour that you're excited to play for, or that maybe the first time you're playing? And then talk about the French Cassettes because I'm not familiar with that band.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one we always circle on the calendar is Denver. They have just always showed up for us. It's electric every time. Boulder as well, but Boulder's not on this tour. We're doing the Gothic Theater in Denver, which is this gorgeous looking, crazy sort of psychedelic looking room. So that's always one that we love to see on there. We're playing Austin on Halloween. That should be a freak show, which we wouldn't have it any other way. We've been in Austin on Halloween before, but we weren't playing, and it looked like, I mean, it was just a party, one big party. Um, so that'll be cool. I don't know if there's any first timers on this one. I'm trying to think. Some great rooms that were jumping up, size, because French Cassettes have a great draw in San Francisco and LA. Yeah, French Cassettes we have been fans of for probably 5 years. I think a friend of mine showed me their song Utah, and like jaw on the floor kind of thing. Just unbelievable writers and really cool production. Just smart approach to songwriting. And I got to pick their brains a bit about that song, and I think the drums on that song were recorded like six or re-recorded 6 or 7 times. I'm just like, I have respect for that attention to detail and like, let's get it right,
Yeah.
because it's an intricate tune if you listen to it. So I'm ready to just hear those guys live every night. It's such a joy when you tour with a band that you like, because you got to hear it every night, and you want it to excite you to then go up and do your thing rather than look around at the crowd and people are looking at each other like, all right, when are they coming on? That is not going to be the case with this situation, and we've been lucky that we've played with a bunch of bands where they just ramp right up into our set and it's perfect.
Yeah. So what is then the farthest trek you have in between shows on this like tour? Is there like a stretch where you're kind of like, oh man, that's gonna be a little rough?
Oh, there's a little bit. I mean, after you play Texas, you're gonna have a drive somewhere. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a long one, and you're probably in Austin for a few days, so you're gonna be, a little banged up. I think we're doing Texas to Birmingham this time, which is like 13. It'll take us, 16 and a half in the van. So we'll break it up into a couple days. We try to go easy on the van itself and we try to go easy on ourselves for those long drives. But yeah, we're pretty used to it at this point. It doesn't make it any less bothersome to be in the van that long, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely part of it.
How do you personally then mentally prepare for a tour like that where you're going to be, away from home that long? Or is it not really, do you try not to think about it or try not to, get it down,
Yeah.
let you down?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's been a lot of growth in these last few years, and with that comes priorities shifting, and with that comes, I think we all cherish our home time a bit more these days, with our significant others we have here and our families, and some of us have studios here, and Jeff enjoys working on his own stuff. Kirby has his own stuff, so I think more and more. Yeah, you gotta get a little bit in a mind state of, all right, let's this is the time to do this. Let's get the work done. Let's play these shows. And when you're in it, you're not thinking about it when you're on stage. You're just so I'm so engulfed in the energy of the night that I really only start thinking about my bed when I'm on that last ride home. Um, so it gets harder with the folks we leave behind back home, but we've been conscious of that, and we take a lot more time off these days too. So it's like ripping a 7 week band-aid off, and it also comes with so much fun. It's it really is. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. So
Well, I mean, that statement says a lot right there. I mean, and I
yeah,
think to your fans too, I think that shows your dedication to, this band and to your creativity, like getting the best out of you, right? I mean,
it's everything. I mean, yeah, sitting on a record for 6 months is hard enough to like wait for it to be out there, but I want to play these songs. I want to sing them with people. And that's the payoff right there. And I'll do that as long as my body will afford me.
yeah, I love the saying or statement, or I don't even know who said it, but like, when you up until you release your album and you release these songs out into the public, they're your songs.
Yeah.
Once you release them out into the public, they're not yours anymore. Like,
No,
talk about that and what that means to you when I say that.
I mean it's so real. There are times where I like giving little sort of insight and snippets into what went into the lyrics of songs, and I've as much as I love letting fans in, and I love when other artists talk about that. I just am a little guarded in that on that same tip, that same concept, it doesn't matter what it means to me once it's yours. You could mishear a lyric 50 times, and that's your favorite lyric in the song because you think it means something else that resonates with you. I don't need to tell you the real one. I don't need to tell you what it meant for me because it means something for you. I don't want to take that away from you. So, as far as that goes, people ask questions about it, and I'll answer it on a one-on-one or one-on-one basis. But I kind of let it just be whatever the listener wants it to be, and that's the whole point. You are handing it over as soon as you put it out, and it's like this tremendous. weight and celebration, for weight off our backs and celebration for us. And it's also sort of this terrifying, I hope they like it again kind of thing too, which is that's okay too. That's the fun in it as well.
Yeah. So is there like I have heard this from other bands, and I would love to get your personal experience on this or your take on this, but I have been told, and I've heard through, like I said, through the grapevine, that some venues are charging a percentage of your merch sales.
They are
Is that like 10%, 20%, 30?
20. It's usually
Okay.
20,
And what do
and
you
it's.
think about that as a musician?
I think it's frustrating. I don't quite understand that. It's between the ticket fees, which I won't even get into. I think enough people are talking about that right now, and it's an important conversation. I just don't understand where they get off with the percentage of the merch. We try to be the most polite and understanding and easy to work with band that we can when a venue's doing their job and they're great at what they do, and these people bust their asses for these groups that come through and tour, and our understanding of that. And it is frustrating to see they're taking a little bit more at the end, which is of course not on these folks that work at the establishment. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like the musicians are the ones that should be nickel and dimed. Really, nobody should be. To keep it all running and to keep people excited to go to shows, and keep bands wanting to tour and wanting and being able to tour and make money that way. You gotta figure out the ticketing fees and the merch splits. Really, some venues will be cool, and there's been times where you're working with the liaison, and at the end of the night, and they're like, "So, how much did you make in merch?" And they're giving you the wink, and you're like, "Tell me when I've gone too
Yeah.
and they'll give you a little. Okay, we'll say you made this much, and that's understandable on their end, and nobody's I don't think out to hose you, but it is a weird thing that has come about recently.
Yeah, I won't mention the club, but it has numbers in it, and I heard that they charged up to 40%.
That is wild.
Yeah,
I'll watch out for numbered clubs.
yeah.
That
Um,
40 is insane.
so speaking of that, did you have any friends that went to All Good Now this past weekend?
I don't think I did. Wait,
Okay.
where was it? Where was that?
It was well, Goose headlined Sunday night,
Okay,
and I think it was String Cheese, Mo. I think Disco Biscuits played
okay,
Saturday. Like it was a 2-day festival at Merriweather, but it was
nice.
the all good people. It was like kind of their like
Sure,
they brought back like the festival, but not in West Virginia.
sounds fun. Well, I hope they didn't get rained on too hard.
It
Just
wasn't
about
too bad.
everywhere.
I had some
Okay,
friends
all
that
right.
went. They said Sunday it was a steady rain, but it wasn't
Yeah,
like it wasn't like flooding or anything like.
because we weren't far from there on a Sunday, and I saw some seriously heavy rains in Western Virginia, but it did end up kind of clearing up. But
Yeah,
crazy day weather-wise.
yeah. That's. I mean, like you said earlier. I mean, it's the worst when like weather like affects music.
It's a huge bummer. Yeah, yeah. What can you do?
So. Um, Well, you kind of mentioned about Halloween this year. Like, you guys have done some pretty interesting things over Halloween in the past. Talk about the shows and the the cover of My Morning Jacket for the one show.
Yeah, I'll lead up to that. Yeah, so we oftentimes, I think maybe three times now, we've played this festival that Atlas Touring, our agency, puts on in Charleston, South Carolina. And they shut down. There's this great little venue called the Royal American, and they shut down the whole parking lot, two stages, and it's basically a 1,400 person Halloween party. Everybody is dressed up, so we try to dress up too. So we've done that a couple of times. We were Blue Jean Committee once, which was a fictional band from the IFC show documentary now, the Fred Armisen, Bill Hader show, which is basically a take on the Eagles. And that was the easiest costume of all time because we all have so much denim. And I actually sent it to Fred Armisen, and he got back to me, which was the coolest part of it all. And then we were Led Zeppelin one year, and then last year we topped it with Kiss, and surprisingly easy to pull off. A little bit of makeup, some wigs, and then I used for my I was Ace Frehley, and for my
Right.
silver shoulder pads I used a Chipotle bin or to go container. Just cut it in half and duct taped it on. So there you go, a little at home Ace Frehley tip for you guys.
So what Kiss song was the hardest to play, did you feel like?
Well, we didn't play Kiss songs. We didn't have time to learn it, and we pretty much only got the costume together within the last 36 hours. So no Kiss songs were learned, but we did start with I think just a chant of "I Want to Rock and Roll All Night," and then kicked into a song. But there was a lot of like big like strums and high kicks and a lot of Kiss antics, just no tunes. But we ended with "My Morning Jacket" cover hilariously. So it's just us ripping "One Big Holiday" fully dressed as Kiss
Is there
with a
video
bunch of
out there
friends.
of that?
There's some, yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's hilarious too because we had our buddies hop in. Jeff from Unlimited Light hopped in, and Preston from a band called the Stews, dressed as Dorothy, hopped in. So it's just the most hilarious visual of
Wait,
just
you know the
yeah,
guy
yeah,
you know the
yeah,
guys
yeah,
the Stews?
yeah, yeah. They're on Atlas as well. That's a great rock and roll band.
Yeah, man.
But
I
yeah,
want
it
to
was
get
him, Jeff, and us. Yeah.
Yeah, they played Bonnaroo, so I featured them on my
Oh,
bottom line
cool.
on the bottom lines.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
good
I would
dudes.
love to get them on. Dude, that band is fucking fantastic.
That guy rips. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Great band. But man, Preston's guitar playing is really fun to watch.
Yeah, Alabama too, right?
Is that where they're from? Yeah,
I
maybe.
think so, yeah.
Or are they? Yeah,
Or
yeah.
maybe
Is that
not.
so right? Or Athens? Or oh man, I'm blowing it right now. I feel like I
Something
knew where
out.
they were from.
Something A.
A couple of them live in Charleston now, but yeah, somewhere in the south.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, talk about Charleston, man. What a great city, right? Like how much have you spent in
city,
Charleston?
a ton. Yeah, because I think it was an not easy place to break in, but we broke in because we knew so many people there and so many bands that we would play with. So it was a lot of show swapping. We played with this great band Little Bird a bunch. Um, Easy Honey is another band we played with down there. So uh, again, great venues. Royal American is like a one of a kind place, half indoor, half outdoor. They pack 300 people into that place on a good night, and it is just a blast. Where it doesn't feel crazy because you have all this outdoor area that you can slip out into, and this tiny little stage that connects to the bar. People walk along the bar. They got these lights that you swing. It's really like I said, one of a kind place. We're finally playing the music hall this time, which will be cool. It's
Okay.
like I think like a 1,200 cap theater. But Charleston's always been good to us. We've probably played there just as many times as a lot of these other places that we've gone to, time after time, twice a year usually. So
Yeah,
it's good. We got love for it.
we did a little vacation there in November. We did like the low country basically, like,
Nice,
Charleston, Hilton Head, Savannah.
nice.
And then we saw this band Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. I don't know if you're
Drew
familiar with
Holcomb.
them.
I know. I feel like I know the name. Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors.
Yeah, so like Americana, roots
Cool.
rock kind of, but they were playing at this little tiny theater in Tybee Island, Georgia, which is like where Kiwa is and like
Sure.
like that area. So we
Okay.
went to see them. It was I think it was 200 seat, like 200 caps. It was
Awesome.
fantastic.
I
Um,
love theaters that size. That's
yeah,
cool.
and then in Charleston we saw a show at the Poorhouse, which was
Poorhouse is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, cool spot.
Yeah.
My buddy
We did
Zach.
2 nights there last time.
Oh,
It
really?
was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a blast.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, dude. So when you guys do multi-night, shows, like that's got to be a whole different like do you look at the shows differently when you do a multi-night or is it kind of we're going to bring the energy no matter what?
Yeah. The most fun is just like mixing in some other songs. We tried to. We've only done it a handful of times, but well, the funnest part is leaving your gear up overnight. To not have to load out is chef's kiss. But yeah, just mixing in some songs and trying to work in some fun stuff we don't normally play and try to make each night different enough. We don't have the catalog. We're still going to double up some songs, and I like double. Sometimes there's songs that I'm just not. I'm not going to leave that out of the set for X amount of time, because I just love playing it and I love the reaction it gets. But yeah, the two nighters it's always fun because it's always you're doing it at a smaller room purposefully, so you're gonna have them right there with you. So you choose your favorite venues to do that. That's for sure.
So we named the album Tailing the Ghost. Talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. It kind of came along. I'd say halfway through the process.
Okay.
Um, Again, naming stuff sometimes can be really, really difficult, and I just had that phrase. There was one other maybe we were talking about, but as soon as I had that, it started sort of shaping the rest of the record in a way, and I think it just means to me, at least, this that intangible thing that's sort of always just out of reach. It could be anything for you. A lost loved one. The title track actually is sort of a reference to the dreams I have of my dad, who I lost years ago now to cancer, and just this feeling of he's there. I know he's there, but there's always this sort of gap I can't close. He's existing amongst us, but it's not this like sort of running hug reunion like I'd almost like it to be. But it almost feels like it means more that way, and it's sort of representative of that. He's not gone. He's still here among us. So that's sort of mine. But it could be anything. It could be a career. It could be who knows? Just that thing that's always, we should be chasing something at all times because you don't want to get complacent. Whatever your ghost is.
Mhm. Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be seen, like a ghost.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
that's cool. I like that. So, what do we have then in store then? Anything that you can announce past what you've got going on then, tour wise, or anything else that
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna do another leg in the spring.
nice.
Right now, so if you don't see your city on the fall, you're probably gonna see it on the spring. We're gonna hit all the big ones, and excited for that. We're gonna try and put out a lot of these songs, live versions of a lot of these songs. We have some cool acoustic versions we recorded, so that'll all be down the road. But we've got a lot of stuff that's in the waiting in the wings past this record. So yeah, be ready.
So how do we, to be able to get all that information out, obviously you have to play the social media game.
Sure.
I'm assuming you guys aren't big enough yet that you have a social media team, so you're still DIY this, or how
I
does
still do it. Yeah, I still do it. Um,
what's your
Hopefully, we'll
take on
have.
it, brother? Give me the
It's
honesty.
tough, man. It's not why I started doing music, but it is a tool. You need to utilize it, and we always have. That's how people hear about our shows. It's how people hear about our records. It's how we connect with fans, and it's a part of it. Still trying to learn the TikTok game. I feel like an old man trying to navigate that, but
Me
we try to remain, yeah, authentic in whatever we do. And I think at the end of the day, that's all you can do, you know. And if people want to consume that, then they can. And I just hope it comes across. Just try to.
Yeah, I think what I think social media, one of the negative, well, obviously there's many negative things about it. We
Yeah,
could, list them all, but
sure.
like that's not going to do any good. The one
Hmm.
thing though that I think gets missed sometimes is I think it adds to the blurriness for a musician of the art versus the commodity. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
absolutely. That absolutely does. What I've always liked about the fact that we do run it ourselves is that we maintain our voice and the way we want to phrase things and what we want to put out there. And of course, we would have um, still control over that, but a little less. And that's a lot of work too, man. Like being on a phone call every week about what we're posting on social media. It's at the end of the day, we are small business owners. We really are, and you have to treat it that way if you're going to continue to grow. And it's a lot of work, and it's not the fun part. But as soon as it starts leaking into your time that you could be writing, I'm fortunate in that I'm not the wake up and 9 to 5 write every day. I I will write 5 songs in a week, and then I will go a month without writing one. It's less now, probably 2 weeks tops without writing one now. But and I don't get on my own case about that. It's okay. I need to live in between. It can't be work all the time. And I think when you do take that time and that space away from it, when you come back, it's just better. You
Yeah.
know.
So for you, like, what is a vacation? Like, is it, going to the mountains, going to the beach, going to a
Mhm.
festival? Like, what's an ideal vacation for you?
Yeah. I think I'm at enough festivals for work, so I would skip the festival. I go to Cape Cod each year, the first week of August. My entire dad's side of the family still goes, and we all rent houses on like the same 2 or 3 blocks. And that's like a 30 something year tradition. I don't miss it. If we're on tour, I fly there and I fly back and I meet the boys. And a couple other guys in the band have their family vacations that week as well. That's just like a really sacred week in my life and in my family's, and that will always be my chosen vacation. These last 2 years, though, I started going out to Joshua Tree for close to a week in December. It's just like still pretty cold out there, but just very quiet. And I try to write, and I brought my girlfriend last time, and that was just incredible to just be out in the middle of nowhere with no worries and just enjoying each other's company and grilling steaks and sitting out under the stars and get goosebumps talking about it. It's a special place out there, and I want to try to keep that tradition up for myself.
Mhm.
I feel very fortunate that I can afford something like that at this point in my life. So, and it's such a nice. All right, another year has passed. I'm going to go out to the desert.
Now, do you fly into Palm Springs then, or where do you fly
Yes,
into? Yeah.
I fly into Palm Springs and I rent a convertible. Both times. And I will continue that as well. I don't care how cold it is. This is my hopefully not mid, hopefully more like third of a life crisis, but
Yeah.
that's what I do. And it's a blast, man. It's so much fun.
And say hi to Coachella on your way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Jordan, I really appreciate you doing this interview. Thank you so
Yeah, man.
much. I hope
It was
your
great chatting
fans
with you.
got a nice little insight in you, that maybe they would have typically got. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Great talking with you. Great questions and really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for
sweet.
thinking of us.
Yeah, man. And we look forward to seeing you guys this weekend, man. Hopefully we can connect up there. That'd be great.
Yes, yeah. Come say
Yeah,
hello.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
Cool,
definitely.
man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan from Mo Lowda and the Humble. Again, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands and artists. Check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab Podcast.